Style for Life. I'm Stephanie Rumble, fashion stylist, accountability coach, and your guide to feeling good in your body and your clothes. Based in Christchurch, New Zealand, I bring over 3 decades of experience in fashion, fitness, and wellness to help you feel strong, stylish, and self-assured. Together we'll explore the emotional, physical, and practical sides of style, because true confidence starts from within. No matter your age or size, you deserve to feel confident and show up as the best version of you. I truly believe this. This is Style for Life. Kia ora everybody, and welcome to the podcast again today. This week we have a really interesting podcast, and I've invited someone very close to my heart to be on the podcast today with a little bit of reluctance from him, but I have dragged him along because this is David. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, this is my husband, and tomorrow, what are we celebrating, David?
30 years of marriage.
Yeah, so we thought that we might get on here. We are not professing to be absolute experts, but we have survived. We are still married. We're still living in the same house. We still talk to each other every day. And we thought it might be useful to share some of the insights and the challenges that we have experienced over our 30 years together. So I'm not going to do all the talking because when I get David talking, he won't be able to be quiet either. But first of all, I think everyone knows quite a bit about me because I've done a lot of podcasting. But David, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about you and who you are and where you came from, and then we'll talk about how we got together, kind of.
Okay. Well, I'm 55. I'm a retired dentist, unfortunately, for 30 years of doing dentistry. What do I love? I love sport. I love movies. I love sci-fi. I absolutely love all things science. I enjoy being around lots of family. I like quiet time. I'm definitely a bloke, and I at times speak my mind a bit much, but that's me.
It's also true, of course. I know all this, and that's interesting. So you know, we met like more than 30 years ago, right? Yeah, and we met. I'll tell you. Oh, actually, why don't you start by telling
2 different stories?
Yeah. You tell us the story of how your thoughts were about where we met and how we met, and then I'll shed my light on that.
Well, I was an enormously eligible catch, and the kids are going to make fun of me because they're going to go, Dad, when are you going to slip in being the student president at Unicol? So I might as well slip it in the first 30 seconds. I was student president at Unicol, and Steph was a first-year student.
Unicol,
how we met.
Explain what Unicol is for people.
Unicol being the student hostel on campus at Otago University.
Yeah, we did. You see, so I arrived in 1991. David had already had a year there, so he already had time to put his feet under the table, and he was a student president. And yeah, it was 6 months into my first year, your second year, that we actually ended up together, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was sitting in the cafeteria at Unicol where we got to sit at the head table, and the other student president, Shirley, said to me, "Hi, yeah, it's an interesting group." And I said, "Yeah, who's that girl in that very short, tight green flowery dress?" And Shirley told me off because I was meant to be responsible. And so then I had to park it for 6 months.
Yeah, I've still got that dress actually. Maybe I need to put a photo of it in the show notes. I do drag it out every now and then. I actually bought the fabric. It was an old frumpy dress and I remade it into a little sort of slip dress in that first year at uni. Yeah, and so I think 6 months into my first year, which is about July, was sort of following a ball, wasn't it, where I probably didn't behave the best way I could have.
No, and I was following all the rules and looking after you. And got told rather bluntly that I was inappropriate when I wasn't. And we went from there.
I kind of did, didn't it? And so, so I was only 18. How old were you, Dave?
I was 19.
No, you're older than
No.
that.
Oh, I'm making myself younger than I am.
You just
21.
He was 21. He just had his 21st.
Yeah.
So he just had his 21st and I was 19. So we were very young. And you know what? I tell people, and I've told you this a lot of times over the years, I knew within 3 months of being with you, I was going to marry you.
Yes, you have said that.
What about you? How far into the relationship do you think you recognised that we probably had a future together?
Well, I was trying to ditch another relationship at the time, so I couldn't have been all in.
Oh, yes, we won't share that story in case that person listens. But yes, there was a bit of an interesting start in that case. Yeah. So we got together when we were really, really young. And so we were together for those first few years of my degree. And then you finished and I hadn't finished. So what happened then?
I went to Wellington on my first job, Wellington Hospital. And then you were trying to finish a master's.
And I remember that being a long distance relationship and being quite challenging. And then we got married and moved in together like in that next year. And then we had a couple of years in Wellington, and then we went overseas. So we had quite a short lead between getting married, kind of going overseas, then coming back from being overseas. And, we were very kind of focused on being overseas for a bit longer than we were, but we ended up coming back because we were having a baby. So, we were quite young when we got together. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on getting together with someone young? Do you think it's a good idea, or do you think we should have waited longer? What do you reckon?
Oh, I don't agree with they've got to wait now, to be honest. I think that, the question of is someone your friend or your partner is the most important thing. If they're a partner, then marry them if you're young. If they're a friend, then you won't.
I think you have to be both, though. Like I think you have to be quite good friends in that first instance too. Like we ended up finding that we had quite a lot in common. What I found interesting is in that first year or so of our marriage, we lived in Wellington, and Dave had become quite the mountain biker, and he actually is really good at mountain biking. And I came to Wellington without a load of friends and not knowing a lot of people up there, and you had quite a community. Your family was up there and everyone, and we actually got into mountain biking together, didn't we?
Yeah, and that's just being outside and loving sport.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
You guys were good for me though. Like in terms of mountain biking, you guys got out biking. I remember sitting on the back of you and another chap we knew at the time called Alex. And honestly, I cried because you were both so fit and I wasn't. Do you think, just on that one, what are your thoughts on actually doing things together as a couple? Do you think that's really important, or you think it's more important that you have your own interests? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think there's a split between the two. I think it's absolutely important you do things at absolutely your space, because I don't think that you should have someone as your buddy partner in every single thing you do, especially if it's competitive. Like contract bridge. Don't have a partner in contract bridge. Thankfully, you're hopefully racing mountain bikes in female and male category, thank God, and therefore you're not going to be competitive. But I think if you don't allow space to stay in becoming who you want to be, so defining who you are, I think you'll just get lost. So if you're both loving the same things, doing the same things all the time, you never actually define who you are.
Such a good point. I agree with you. And we've had times in our life where we've done a lot of things together, and then times where we've had to divide and conquer, because it's been It's been such a journey. So, we were into our marriage by a couple of years, and we were traveling through traveling through Europe. We got pregnant, we came back, we had children. What do you think was one of the most significant challenges? Obviously, we've had 4 children together, but significant challenges, or a number of the significant challenges in our marriage and how we've overcome them. We can talk about that together.
Losing a baby is the most significant challenge. I think a lot of people break up if they lose a baby, and leaving the UK because of it. Maybe not having a plan, and the plan might be, do you want to live overseas or do you want to live at home or something like that? I think the biggest challenge, I reckon, is if you don't get married with someone who you want as a partner. I actually think.
Let's come back to that. First of all, let's talk about the baby thing, because I don't think I've ever shared that story on this podcast. No, that's okay. It's fine. I don't mind at all, and it's probably really useful for people who don't know. So the context of that is that we were travelling together. We were doing our overseas experience, or our OE, as we call it in New Zealand, and we weren't planning on having children in our mid-20s, were we, David?
No, we nearly bought a dental centre in London.
Yeah, we were planning on staying there and living the high life, right? And we found I was pregnant. And my first response was to lie on the bed for 2 days and cry, because I was a little bit shocked. So my context was, we were living in London. I got pregnant. It was something we hadn't planned. We'd been thinking we'd have children in maybe 4 or 5 years' time. And so we decided quite quickly to fold our life up, or wind our life up in the UK, travel home for a few countries we really wanted to see, and be back in the South Island near to my family while we raised our child, which we got our head around. And so we travelled home for, I don't know, how long did we take? 4 weeks to get back to New Zealand, maybe?
Yeah. Because we went to Egypt on the way home.
We went to Egypt and to Bali.
And then Bali.
Yeah, and probably places that weren't great for a newly pregnant woman. Anyway, long story short, we're back here. Was it 2 or 3 weeks?
I think it was because we had my good friend's wedding in Marlborough.
That was after we lost the baby.
Yeah, but it was the night. There was that bright red sky that we drove up, if you remember.
I do. So we lost a child. I was 16 weeks pregnant, and we're both super devastated because we'd moved our lives back to New Zealand for that. And David at that point had bought into a dental practice in Christchurch and Billy Ave, but I was really not doing a lot, was it, Dave? I was starting personal training a little bit at Les Mills and doing some classes, but I didn't know what I was going to do. So that was really challenging. We'd given up our life. Most of our friends hadn't even gone overseas. So that was really challenging. I think very testing in that first part of our marriage. But I actually think that experience brought us closer together. Do you think so?
Oh, yeah, because we had to make a decision and plan. So we decided to plan, and that's when we agreed on what we wanted to do in a very broad sense, even though we had no money.
No house.
Substance behind us, but we decided that we wanted to travel, and we had no interest in having the smallest piggy bank in the country.
We sort of lived like that for a while. So we did. We decided then, after we lost that baby, to go ahead and try and get pregnant again. And then we did that for the next 5 years, didn't we?
Yes, that was getting pregnant by elbow clutching. That was an easy one, actually, for us. We weren't one of those sad couples that were stressed with being able to get pregnant. We were
lucky.
Getting pregnant with pinky touching.
We were lucky. We were lucky that we got pregnant. We'll keep it. We were lucky that we managed to have, from that point onwards, we had 4 children in 5 years. So it was a really challenging. It was really challenging, but really fun. And over that time, David was growing his dental practice, and I was sort of working part time, and we were kind of working really quite closely together to get things working for us. Have you ever wondered how you can be a fashion stylist with access to premium digital styling products? Do you want to be trained by the best in the industry and access these products that reflect fashion styling in 2025? If you do, then Image Innovators is absolutely the choice for you. This is because they have a network of over 1,000 trained fashion stylists worldwide, and you know when you work with them, you're getting the best of the best. They have evidence-based professional training offered by highly skilled facilitators that help you reach your absolute potential. This is a great alignment with Style for Life, as I in my business have used and endorsed their products for over 10 years with so many happy clients. And I'm really excited to say I'm also offering training to fashion stylists in conjunction with Image Innovators. So if you're ready to start your fashion styling training journey, then use the code BRIGHTRED25 for 10% off all products. Then the thing you said earlier, another challenge you think in a relationship or something that's really challenging is when somebody is a partner and not a friend. Or then explain what you mean about that, because I'm interested in that. What you mean?
Well, from my view, a partner is someone who absolutely shares the same end point. So friends and falls inside of that when you're a partner. Whereas friends can have different endpoints. They're not your partner. So they'll have a plan to go off left. They'll travel along the path with you as a friend, but they've got a different endpoint. But a partner has the same endpoint. So therefore to me, they capture the friend bit inside a partnership.
That's so interesting. You know what? Everyone who's listening, we've never had this conversation. This is really interesting. I agree with you because we do very much agree on the outcomes of what we want. So right at the moment, we're waiting for our oldest son to find out whether or not he makes a New Zealand team, which we hope he does. In which case that means that we're holding our lives at the moment waiting. And if he does, then we'll make plans that we both very much are aligned with around going to watch him compete for New Zealand. So you've heard Zach on the podcast. If you haven't, check back one of the other podcasts and Zach was interviewed. So yeah, I think that's so true. And we definitely have an endpoint about how we want our future at this point, this point in our mid-50s to look going forward too. So I agree with you. So I think one of the other challenges for me, and I'm sure it is for you too, in our marriage has been you stopping work, David.
Yes, he's got a reasonably challenging moment.
Yeah, so do you feel comfortable telling the audience what happened?
Well, I don't know. You can talk the ears off a donkey if you give them a chance.
Yeah, go for it. Tell us a little bit about what happened and why you're no longer working in your profession and the way you were.
On the 20th or 18th or 20th of December, Friday night at 5 o'clock, I was rushing, putting the pool cover on to the pool so I could get to the Lumino Christmas do, and the wheels broke on the pool cover and prolapsed 2 discs in my neck, C4 and C5, which left me with permanent numb hands and left shoulder and a lot of pain, and I needed surgery, and that feeling's never come back.
And it was such a challenging time. I do remember as soon as it happened. Do you remember what I said to you?
No.
Oh, it was so bad. I said, why don't you go to the mall for a massage?
You did too, and then I did it the next day, and it was like the worst thing that could have ever been advised. It was so painful.
But I just, at the time, I think was it 2018? I think it was 2018. Yeah, it was 2018. We were in the midst of the kids. Like, all the kids were at home. It was so busy too. So it was such a difficult time. And so it took 6 months between the accident and your surgery, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that was so challenging. So testing. All of our kids were at school at the time. Yeah. And so from there, how do you think, as a couple, we've navigated that?
Well, we had to reset our plans again, was the way I see it. Our endpoint didn't change, but definitely our ability to meet the plan as quickly as we were sent out the door. I don't think our plans changed, but our ability to get there quickly is now gone.
We had to.
But I do think it there's been good outcomes from it and bad outcomes from it.
Tell us what you think the bad outcomes are, then we'll talk about the good.
The bad outcomes is I don't practice what I was good at. I don't get to exhibit what I'm good at doing. I then don't earn as powerfully as we used to. But I never really did it for the money anyway, but it was coincidentally a good income. So that was a bit of a challenge. And it removed me from your hair during the days, but I had to go work.
Well, so we kind of reverse roles in a way, because I knew that David was going to be at home more, especially for that first few years. We weren't sure whether or not his nerve would regenerate. We didn't ever think it really would, but there was some discussion that it might, and it hasn't regenerated, which means there's permanent numbness in his left hand, and you don't want someone poking around in your head with dental tools with numbness in their left hand. So I used the opportunity, I retrained. I went back and did some more training in adult education, and I jumped back into work. It was a significant challenge for our children too. I think more so our boys than our girls, because our boys were kind of nearly at the end of their schooling. They were quite independent, but we went from me being at home a bit more, working part-time, to nearly working full-time, and you taking over that caregiving, which I think for both of us was a real period of adjustment, wasn't it?
Yes, guys don't like getting told what to do. So if they're at home doing tasks at home, they certainly don't like getting told how to hang the washing on the line. Which, of course, to all those guys out there listening, there is a correct way of pegging a shirt on the line, and there's also a correct way of pegging the flimsiest pair of undergarments that you could possibly imagine on a line, would you believe? And you can also clean a toilet bowl incorrectly.
But do you know what I learned? I learned that I was just grateful to have it done. And I think, the washing one's so funny, because recently we were having this exercise in our relationship. We were practicing one person talking for 10 minutes and the other person not being allowed to interrupt. And I was like, guess what, Dave? We're going to the clothesline. I didn't actually do it though. And I was going to talk for 10 minutes and hang the washing on the clothesline. But I didn't do that because I think it rained those next few days and David was saved by me doing that. But anyway, I do think that, especially for those of you who do end up with a bit of role reversal, which we did, the thing that I really got was I was so grateful, and I am so grateful to you. David does look after me so well now. Like, not that he ever didn't used to, it was just a different type of looking after. And I think we both had a lot of adjustment in that time. And I think for me, and as David said, I had to accept his way of doing things because he was doing it. And now I'm just happy that it's done.
I think a good example is if I'm cooking dinner.
Yeah.
I don't need a sous chef called Steph.
I'm happy not to. I'm happy not to. So tell us, what advice do you think we've been together, tomorrow it's 30 years together. And what do you think has kept us together? Well, from your perspective, David, what's kept us together?
I thought about this and thought, my gosh, you can get all preachy in this one. I actually think if you actually know who you are, I know who I am, I know what I can do, and I know what I can't. I always want to do more or do other things, but I know who I am.
It's taken me a while to figure that one out. I'm a bit of a chameleon, right? One thing one day, one thing the next. But I think that's really interesting as well. I think
guys are lost for this. Guys already probably actually know exactly who they are. They just don't tell many people exactly who they are.
But you know what I think is interesting in this? Is we discovered something about you in 2020 that we didn't really know.
Well, we didn't know the words for it, but you know who you are.
But I think that helped you discover who you are a bit more. Don't you agree? Don't tell the audience what we discovered.
It got tested to see how far I was on, well, they all call it the, autism spectrum, but I don't like the way they've narrowed that down, given that I'm on the spectrum. We don't like to be narrowed down. would say, on the old Asperger's spectrum. It's quite high on the Asperger's spectrum.
And I think that was such a pivotal point. I remember that conversation we had. It was in lockdown, and all the children were back here because it was lockdown, and the boys came back from Dunedin, and we were all in the house together again, which we'd kind of all just sort of spread out a wee bit, and we'd breathed a sigh of relief because the boys had moved to Dunedin and we had just the girls, and it was quite nice, just a family of 4 rather than a family of 6 or 7 or 8 or however many we had. And Bryn said, our second oldest son said to Dave, God, have you ever been tested for autism or something like that, didn't he, Dave? And then I think, did you or me? I think maybe it was you took an online test. Was it you who did it? Yes. And then you thought, oh gosh, this is.
No, I asked all of one of the patients, the now retired
psychologist.
And she said, I've waited for 10 years for you to ask this. I've been a dentist for 10 years.
It's so good. It's so good. And we went to see Olive quite a bit together, didn't we? Just to get help and supporting each other in this process in the early days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, understanding the fact that you have some neurodiversity has helped our relationship too. It's certainly helped me to understand some of the ways that we interact, and it's helped me manage myself better too. What do you think? What do you think the advantage for you is in understanding yourself better in that way?
That you're very intense and you have heightened focus. And when a partner says, I really would like you to ask and help me with this, is a wonderful question to someone who is like me, because then you'll get the Google search, you'll get the AI search, you'll get 10 layers of discussion on it. The intensity and hyper focus on helping will become overwhelming. And the accidental byproduct of that is the intense level of help you're after. You realise that you weren't quite after that.
Yeah, I was going to say, in old terms, you would have given me the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yes,
yeah.
Very old school.
Old school, yeah, that was kind of funny. Yeah, no, that's true. And I understand that now. Sometimes when I do ask a question and you do have a lot to say, I'll just say, okay, that's enough now. Thank you, I've got all I need. But if I want to know something specific, it's really good, because I recently asked you, and I don't know if you've done this yet, I recently asked you to do some research on the link between ADHD medication and dementia, which I'm so interested in, which is a topic for another day. So I'm still waiting for that big, long outcome to come my way. I'm looking forward to the thesis.
I think I've learned not to do that.
Yeah. So what do you think has been one of the greatest joys in our marriage? Or maybe
definitely children.
Yeah. Yeah. I so agree. We always wanted kids, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was never a discussion. Like when we got pregnant in the overseas, we were both kind of shocked, and we weren't prepared because I was only 25, I think, and you were 26 or 27, or 24 and 27, I can't remember, and we were a bit shocked. But yeah, I think it's been our greatest joy too, and we really share in the we've shared the parenting quite well, I think, too, over the years. I think I haven't felt like it's been unbalanced in any way, which some women do feel like. And I think you've been very involved. What do you think's made you want to be involved as a father?
I don't have an answer to that. I think it is just that you have a responsibility to be engaged. So be engaged. I don't really think about it a great deal. I just agree with myself that you have to be intertwined in understanding that when they're born, you don't find them quite as attractive as you thought you could. Only mums find newborn babies really, really lovely.
Yeah.
Most dads have nicknames for them, which we won't say on this podcast.
Mm.
And then they need mum a bit more, and then they need dad. So I fought for dad's post.
You did, and it was great. I didn't have any resistance. I think that that's so interesting, and I apologise because I put Dave on the spot with a couple of these questions, and his brain likes the questions first and to prepare the answers. So I have asked him a couple of questions which he didn't know were coming. There's a couple of other things which I have asked, and he has got a bit of a. He might have prepared some answers for. What advice would you give to someone who finds their partner a nuisance or a pain or annoying?
But now, this is where my brain says the word pain is just not very accurate. To a health professional, that means that you've got an injury.
Oh, sorry. I should have known. Nuisance.
I changed it to nuisance.
Yeah.
And I broke it into 2 bits, and I had, thought, okay, how do I answer that? Is your partner pushing you to do something different that isn't what you define yourself as? And if they are, you have to decide, well, do I want to learn that new piece? Is it good for me? Or does it pull apart who I am? And so then you resist that, or you accept it and engage it and just get on with it, is one thing. And the other part of it is their partner being a pain or a bit of a nuisance is, are they asking you to do something that you just simply don't understand?
And I think that's yeah.
And so therefore they're not being a nuisance, you just don't understand. And guys miss a lot of things and don't understand what they're being asked to do.
We'll often, thank you for that, we'll often say to each other, can you explain more? Can you please explain more? I think we do this so much. I'll say, can you give me a bit more on that? Please, can you explain? I don't get it. And so I think that helps both of us to unpack what the other one's saying. So there we are. Is there anything else that you want to add? A little bit of advice to anybody who is, at the beginning of their marriage or maybe struggling in their marriage or thinks, gosh, how did you get to 30 years? Anything you want to add?
I think that if you can't establish common beliefs, you're not going anywhere. You don't have to agree on them all, but you've got to have some real common beliefs.
And I think ours sit very closely around how we work with our family, our close children family, their partners, our wider family. We're very aligned in that way, very, very aligned in that way. So I think that makes a difference. And sometimes we have challenging or slightly differing political beliefs or differing beliefs. Like Dave's very science-based and I'm quite feelings-based. We're quite opposite. So it's been a really good way of pulling more feelings based out of him, getting more evidence out of me. So the two of us have worked well. So thank you, darling. I've worked him in. He's sitting in the lounge. We had different devices. And here in my office, I tried on the same device, but technologically challenged. So thank you for doing that for everybody. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast again and for tuning in. And this is David and I celebrating 30 years of marriage. Kia kaha, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Style for Life podcast. Don't forget, you deserve to feel fabulous at every age, every stage, and at every size. If you're loving the show, hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps more amazing people like you find their way back to life through style. Thanks again. Until next time.